a brilliant student, a posh house party, and a broken body on the highway just hours later. Was it an accident, a night that spun out of control, or a secret too uncomfortable to face in daylight? This is Lost Crimes. Welcome to the deadly house party, Mercy Keino. Before dawn on Friday, June 17, 2011, Nairobi found a nightmare on Waiyaki Way, a young woman's body by the roadside. She was Mercy Keino, 25, a University of Nairobi journalism postgrad, bright, engaged, and known on campus for her drive. The night had begun as a Westlands house party. Then Mercy vanished into the city's blur. By morning, her death was a headline mystery, part rumor, part timeline, and all unanswered questions. When did it all begin? On the night of Thursday, 16 June 2011. That evening, Mercy and her aunt Scholastica Namwai Kamemba were invited to Wasini Luxury Homes, an upscale complex in Westlands, for a private party with drinks flowing and important people present. Among those mentioned was William Kabogo, then a prominent national politician who would later serve as Kiambu governor. Excited, the two arrived by taxi at 7:48 p.m., a detail captured on CCTV. This was not a casual hangout. It was an apartment inside a guarded building, the sort of address that signals privacy and influence. The guest list was small. By later accounts, roughly 15 women and 4 men. No one in that room could have known it was Mercy's last night alive, that the laughter, the clink of glasses, and the steady hum of Nairobi outside were the final soundtrack before a disappearance into the dark and a discovery by dawn on Waiyaki Way. Inside the apartment, Mercy asked for red wine, and the celebration eased into motion. She sipped through the evening, chatting with a few men near the bar. At 1:23 amperes, M, a well-known politician, William Kabogo, arrived at the luxury unit with 2 women. From that moment, the room's chemistry shifted. Most of the female guests left, and the crowd thinned to just 3 women, Mercy and the 2 new arrivals, along with the politician and 3 bodyguards. Drinks were ordered again, wine and water. At 1:44 a.m., Mercy was seen moving toward the main bar area. She approached a man who did not seem bothered by her presence. With several drinks in, she appeared to flirt, like she wanted to pull him aside, and he largely ignored her. Unable to make headway, Mercy went to the restroom. About 15 minutes later, she came back to the same table. She did not look highly intoxicated. She could still navigate the space and seemed oriented. After a brief exchange with the same man, she stepped away again, this time with him following. Where did they go? How long were they gone? The cameras only caught a glimpse of them as they passed through reception. Beyond that doorway, the timeline grows thin and the questions multiply. At 2:07 a.m., she reappeared at the bar, now clearly intoxicated. Mercy knocked over a chair and feigned as if about to throw something at a waiter. The party buzzed on. A few guests laughed at the spectacle. By 2:17 a.m., she wanted to go home. According to later toxicology reporting, Mercy had consumed the rough equivalent of at least 8 half bottles of beer or 18 shots of whiskey by then. The camera caught the moment she tried to leave and 3 bodyguards intervened, deciding she was too impaired to go. She had already caused disturbances, at one point running up the stairs and trying to enter private rooms in the Wasini luxury apartments. Between 2:18 and 2:28 a.m., the night spilled past control. Mercy broke away and bolted out of the building. Witnesses said that moments earlier she had sat, lay down, and screamed in the corridor, which raises a question that still nags the timeline. How intoxicated was she if, minutes later, she could run fast enough to outpace the people following her? Was adrenaline doing the work? Was the hallway chaos misread? Or did we just watch a party turn into a panic exit frame by frame? A witness later said the bodyguards and a woman chased after her and found Mercy sitting in the middle of Waiyaki Way before escorting her back to the complex. On CCTV, She re-enters at 2:30 a.m., brought in by the woman and one of the politician's guards. The woman took her upstairs to a private room. From roughly 2:30 to 2:45 a.m., Mercy was upstairs in a private suite with the politician. Then at 2:47 a.m., the bodyguards carry her out on their shoulders. Moments later, Mercy managed to walk. It never became clear whether she was too intoxicated to stand or already seriously injured. So, what happened in those 15 minutes behind a closed door that ended with Mercy being removed from the room? Was it an attempt to calm her, a struggle, or something darker that no camera could see? Who else went in or out while the staircase camera kept its blind angle? Those 15 minutes are the black box of this case, the gap that turns a party timeline into a mystery. The concierge, Charles Mashara, later told investigators he heard a commotion. Minutes after that, he heard glass shattering and went toward the room with two of the politician's bodyguards. Inside, he said, they found Kabogo and Mercy on the floor. According to Mashara, Mercy had blood in her mouth, and a photo frame lay broken nearby. Mashara further claimed that while Mercy was still on the floor, Kabogo slapped her several times and even stomped on her joints, allegedly because she was misbehaving and breaking things while drunk. He said the politician then ordered the guards to remove her from the apartment and get a taxi to send her home. From Kabogo's perspective, he told the inquest that Mercy fell at the doorway as he went to call her aunt, Scholastica, who he said was in the same suite. He maintained that at one point Mercy fell inside the apartment and injured herself, that she was out of control, and that she broke the picture frames. Which version fits the timeline that follows, and which details are there to manage the optics of a night already off the rails? At 2:50 a.m., they brought Mercy downstairs. Her aunt Scholastica and the bodyguards asked the gateman to open the gate so they could get her out. On camera, Mercy rolls on the ground, then suddenly springs up, slaps her aunt Scholastica, and sprints into the night. That is the last confirmed sighting of Mercy Keino alive. In her first statement, Scholastica said Mercy was very drunk, that she had cut herself when she fell on the apartment floor, and that once they reached the gate, Mercy ran, disappearing into the darkness. She stopped chasing because it was too dark. Notably, that initial account did not mention the private room where the night had ended with the politician. She also told investigators that Mercy was a drinker, that on nights out she might mix 4 different types of alcohol. Moments later, the politician and the 2 women left as well. When they reached the parking area, he asked the guards, "Where is Mercy?" The answer was blunt. She had run toward Wayaki Way. They said they called after her, tried to bring her back, but she refused and kept going, out of the compound, into the dark stretch of highway that would soon rewrite the night from party to crime scene. By the next dawn, Saturday, 18 June 2011, a traffic officer was called to Wayaki Way for a reported accident. An adult woman, skull fractured, arms and legs broken, lying at the roadside, already deceased. Despite her aunt's efforts to stop her, Mercy had left Wasini. Here, the mystery thickens. Where did she go? Who, if anyone, did she meet? How did she move from Westlands to Wayaki Way? That stretch remains a gaping hole in the investigation. The officer widened the search, pacing the tarmac and roadside for several meters to locate a true point of impact. The body's condition raised new doubts. Mercy's limbs were broken, her skull shattered, bone fragments missing, organs exposed. The violence of the injuries looked consistent with a high-speed strike, which is why the first police hypothesis leaned toward a hit and run. Then came the detail that unraveled the simple story. There was almost no blood. Typical road fatalities show visible pools of blood, and victims often retain personal effects. One of the first officers on scene, Thomas Obogi, later told the inquest there was not enough blood on the pavement to support a roadside impact. His conclusion was chilling. Mercy did not die there. She likely died elsewhere, and her body was dumped on the highway to stage an accident. If that is true, then the last verified moments at Wasini and the 15 minutes behind a locked door are not just messy party dramas. They are the start of a cover-up timeline that ends at the edge of Waiyaki Way. Meanwhile, police moved the University of Nairobi student's body to the city morgue. As competing versions sparred, a new clue set the public on edge: the trail of a green Mercedes. A witness said she saw a body pushed from a moving car. She wrote down the plate number. Officers traced the owner, who came in voluntarily. He was a well-known businessman, and his name filled headlines for weeks. He categorically denied hitting anyone or dumping a body. He said he only swerved when he saw a form on the road. Over time, the evidence never established a firm link between him and Mercy's death. Instead of resolution, the case became a mirror of institutional failures. Prosecutors summoned political figures to give statements, ramping up media pressure. At one point, even an attorney general pushed to reopen the inquest, arguing that evidence had been tampered with inside a police station. Progress never arrived with the force the public expected. The story split into two irreconcilable paths: those who believe Mercy was the victim of a hit and run after leaving the party, and those convinced she was killed elsewhere and her body abandoned on Waiyaki Way to disguise a crime too inconvenient to name. In 2012, when the judicial inquest opened to determine how she died, many hoped the truth would finally surface. The process was long: subpoenas, testimony, contradictions. Police officer Thomas Abogi, among the first on Waiyaki Way that dawn, testified firmly that what he saw did not look like a classic road fatality. Mercy's body was devastated, yes, but there were no clear impact marks on the tarmac and not enough blood at the scene. In his view, Mercy was killed elsewhere and her body dumped on the highway. But that was not the only story on record. Other witnesses said they saw Mercy agitated, drunk, arguing, and breaking glasses at Wasini luxury homes before storming out. That image, an unruly student, became a convenient media motif, propping up the accident hypothesis that her state led her into the middle of the road where a vehicle struck her. Yet even that narrative leaked questions. How did she travel from Westlands to the exact stretch where she was found, roughly 10 kilometers away, at that hour of the night? Did she walk that distance? With whom? By what ride? As these questions echoed, the name William Kabogo, then MP for Juja, kept surfacing in public debate. His alleged presence at the party and the private room episode were used to hint at a connection to Mercy's death. Kabogo denied it categorically. He told the tribunal he never hit Mercy, that he would not touch a woman inappropriately, much less someone intoxicated. He said he held her by the shoulders, tapped her face to see if she would respond, then instructed his team to take her out and call a taxi. So how did it end? In 2016, William Kabogo and 5 others were cleared, the court finding no evidence linking them directly to Mercy's death. The magistrate noted Kabogo had no clear motive, and CCTV shown at the inquest portrayed Keino as intoxicated, agitated, and violent circumstances, the court said, could fit a hit-and-run scenario on her way out. Those same recordings, however, were contested and remain polarizing. Forensic reports arrived after years of delays, feeding public suspicion of tampering, cover-ups, and powerful interests protecting their own. The green Mercedes thread never tied off either. The businessman came forward, said he only swerved to avoid a body on the road, and investigators couldn't prove otherwise. Still, a witness insisting a body was pushed from a moving car kept the homicide and dump theory alive, and, with it, the doubt that has shadowed this case ever since. Years passed, but the story never fully dimmed. In 2025, her name surfaced again in a parliamentary hearing when William Kabogo was questioned once more about his alleged involvement in the case. Kabogo repeated his stance. He had nothing to do with it. He had been cleared at the inquest, and the official conclusion was that Mercy died in a truck hit and run. He even voiced sympathy for the family, saying he hoped the driver would one day come forward and confess. Not everyone was persuaded. Many recalled Officer Thomas Obogi's testimony about the lack of blood on the tarmac and the gaps in the CCTV timeline. More than a decade on, two narratives still collide in the public mind: the official accident and the alternative, that Mercy Keino died elsewhere and was staged on Waiyaki Way. And so the inevitable questions remain. Which weighs more, the official inquest that never delivered conclusive proof, or the mosaic of clues that points to another truth? What really happened between the minute Mercy left Wasini and the moment her body was found on Waiyaki Way? Was she the victim of a random accident or of a carefully staged homicide? Mercy Keino was a brilliant student with plans to build a future in journalism. She had a family waiting for her, an engagement in motion, and dreams that ended on a fatal dawn. Her loved ones remember she was preparing to graduate, hoped to marry, and wanted 2 children. All of it was cut short. Thank you for watching. If you value careful, victim-centered storytelling, please like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next.